Hello, Rich Spezzano here from Digitally Fearless, and today I'm going to show you how to create a game board. And so I thought it would be kind of fun. Sometimes everyone gets so serious about all the things they're doing, but if you try and create something that's completely out of the ordinary, it just gets your creative juices flowing. Then you start getting ideas for other things. One of the special things I want to do in this video is to start creating the board, and then and I'll show you how I've created this part so far, but then after I create the board, I want you to help me finish it with ideas on how or what this game should include. And so like I'm leaving boards empty, squares empty, and rules of the game are empty. I mean, during the video I'll give you suggestions, but I'd like you to tell me so that I can do a part 2 with your ideas. So I hope you like this, and let's get started. First thing I did was went to File, New, and I created a print document, and it's 20 inches by 20 inches by 300 dpi in case you want to actually print it in good quality. And I said okay, and I'm going to cancel because that's what we have here. And then I also just went online and pulled an Affinity Photo logo. Doesn't matter what the quality is, we're going to make that look like a vector logo later, so you can increase the size to wherever you want. So the first thing we will do is use this logo and try and get the magnet on so it snaps, and try and find the center and give it, let's figure a nice size. I would say maybe like that. That looks pretty good. Again, don't worry about how distorted this is. We will fix that. Actually, maybe we'll do it first. So let's do this first. Next thing I'll do then is I will go to the pen tool, and I'll start tracing these lines. So let's go this way to here. Then I'll hold Shift, and I'll go here, and then come down here. Right there. I'm just tapping. I'm just touching each corner. And then you notice how it's snapping when I get down here, so it's even. There you go. So that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm just tap, 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 so there's no problem here. Now let me think, what do I want to do? I think I'm going to go right down to here. No, I'll go back up, and I'll go here, and I'll go here. And that's it. So let's see what we got. We're going to hit the fill, and let's give it this color. And that's what we got. Okay, that's pretty good. So let me lower the opacity so I can see where we are and what's missing. So what I also now need to do is cut out a triangle. So first thing I'll do, let's just take another node tool and start here. Okay, and let's just give that any color. It really doesn't matter, just so we could see what it looks like. And bring this one back up. So if we take that and the one underneath, I'm holding Shift, and then we go to Layer, Geometry, and we subtract. And that subtracts that one out. So that's what we want there. That's perfect. Now how about this middle part? Well, we can use the Shape tool, Polygon, and instead of five, we'll do 6 sides. So let's make it six-sided polygon. And I'm going to hold Shift so that it's a perfect, so it's not distorted. I don't know what I did there. Hold on. There we go. And now I'll move that into place. And maybe a little bit smaller, like that looks pretty good. So once again, I'm going to select that one, and that one's on top, and then I'm going to hold shift and select the other one and do layer, geometry, subtract. So right now this is what I have. And the last thing I'll do is I'll select the layer below, and I'll make this color the Affinity color pink. I'm going to lock these into place. I'm going to lock these two into place, and then I'll do the shape to rectangle, and I'll make a rectangle. It'll snap into place because of the snapping, and I'll bring that below, and there you have it. So we can delete the original logo, and maybe we'll even, let's unlock it, and now we'll just go back to effects, and we can give it, I don't know whether I want to do bevel and emboss or 3D. Let's try emboss. And that gives it a little bit of a feeling. I didn't do it perfect here, so I could fix that. So maybe we could fix that. Let's see. These two should come over. This one should come to here. Let me undo that. Let me select the two with the shift, and with my arrow keys, I'm going to try and get them as much as I want. Okay, close enough. Again, not perfect, but for this one, actually on this one too, I got to do that. We'll move this one over a little bit to here, and move this one up, and this one up. This one a little bit down. Actually, this one over this way. Okay, close enough for this tutorial. We don't want to spend too much time on that. So that's the logo. So let's take these two. We're going to group them and say logo. Next thing we're going to do, I'll get to this layer later. I'm going to just keep that hidden. Next thing we're going to do is let's create a rectangle. Actually, we can still use this rectangle. And let's go, let's say, like that. And this time we're going to fill it with white, and we'll give it a stroke. Maybe, let's give it a 7-point stroke. That looks pretty good. And I think I want it to be a little bit in. Let's see. Okay, that's good. So that's one. That's your first rectangle. And what I'll do is I'll do Control or Command J to duplicate that layer and drag it until it snaps to the next one. And then I'll continually do Control or Command J, which will duplicate that. And it doesn't seem like it's working right. So what we'll do now is we'll take that whole group and we'll shrink it some in proportion, of course. And that looks pretty good. And then we'll select that whole group. That's row, and we'll group it, and then we'll duplicate it. So we can hold Alt and just drag that to the bottom. We'll try and make it snap onto the logo. And then we could take this one and do again Alt, drag that, and then turn it. We're going to try and get these even. We'll have to do some adjustments, and we'll have to fix this logo a little bit. So I see that it's off, but don't worry about that right now, because I'm going to do Alt again, and we'll go in there. So that's our boxes, and we don't need two in each corner. So if I select just the corner and I delete one of them, as long as the one behind it is the same, is good. Now here we had an issue. We could see that they're not the same, so I need to move that up till they meet. like that. And then we can get rid of one of each of those. And this one. There we go. So now we'll take these and group it all together. And we will call these board squares. Okay, it's coming along. I know this is a little bit tedious, but now comes some of the fun parts. And for example, I went into stock photos. Affinity Photo now has a stock tab, and if you don't see it, go to View, Studio, Stock, and I selected Pixel Bay, and I typed in calendar. If you're doing it in Affinity Designer, I'm not exactly sure if they have the stock tab, but it doesn't matter because you can go right to Pixabay and do a search and pull that in. So what I did was I pulled in this one, which is what you saw earlier here. In fact, I'll just pull it in again. So we'll do it again. I just pulled this in like that. And I close it. It just tells you who it's by, which is nice of them. And I took this, made it a little bit bigger. You have to rasterize it first. So you rasterize that, and then you do the flood selection tool, and I gave it a tolerance of 20%, and I selected the white. So it selected the white and this very light gray. So all I did was do Control Command X, and then I just have the top ones. And then I'll deselect with Control Command D. So now I thought it would be fun, part of this game, if you are a Photoshop user, you have to pay $10 a month. So what I'm doing now is putting the money, every time I go to a Photoshop user, I'll show you. Let me do one and then I'll show you. So select that, and now just take a selection tool and make it selection around January, and then do Control Copy and Control V Paste. And I could type in January, but there's really no need because the colors will show me. And I'll deselect that, and I'm going to move January right to here. And then I'll write, let me get a close-up. Let's do this. And right here I'll write, let's see, Photoshop user pay $10. No, let me do it better. Let me do it this way. And maybe I'll put them all on 3 different lines. And I'll make it centered and bold, and let's see how big. I think that'll fit. And that's what we're going to do. So there should be 12 of these on the board, one for each user. I mean, one for each month. So now we go back to February. Let's do it again. Very simple. Copy, paste, move it up. Let's say, let's do it right here. Now, if the game, I'm imagining the game that if you use it, let me just try and pull this whole row out first. Let's deselect, go back to March. I'm imagining that if you use it, there'll be a thing that tells you, like you land on, and that makes you a Photoshop user instead of an Affinity Photo user, or any Affinity product. And if that's the case, then you have to pay. But if you are an Affinity user during the game, then you don't have to pay when you land on that. So let's deselect and move that here. Let's go here. So let's take all 3 and line them to each other to the top. There you go. And then I'll use my arrow keys because we want them probably just touching. Doesn't look that close. There we go. We're just touching the edges there. And then I'll take my Photoshop user. Since I'm doing that, I'm just holding Alt. And if you're a Photoshop user, what we'll do is, oops, sorry about that. So if you're a Photoshop user and you land on there, you have to pay $10 each month, which is what which was what Adobe says you should do. So let's just go down the line here. So what are we up to? April. I'm going to do these. I may even speed this up. Let me do a couple of sideways just to show you first. Let's see. Copy, paste. Go back to here. Deselect. Go back to here. Copy and paste. Deselect. And go here. Copy, paste, deselect. Okay, so now I have April. Let's move this board down. May and June. And the way I'm thinking the game would go, let me move out. And I want you to help me with this. I'm asking for suggestions. It's not going to be a real game, but sometimes it's just a good mental challenge to do something out of the ordinary, and you learn things along the way. But the way I'm thinking it would work is, if like there'll be boxes here on this whole purple section here, and you land on one, it says you're a Photoshop user. And if you land on another one, if it says you're an Affinity user, then you're no longer a Photoshop user. So once you get past this row, it decides whether you're a Photoshop user or an Affinity user. And then if you're a Photoshop user, you have to pay if you land on these, and you don't if you're an Affinity user. And then on here, if you're an Affinity user, I say when you get to any of these edges, you can go around if you want, but you can have shortcuts to go through things and get extra money out of it somehow. So that's the way I'm thinking. So my mind is really weird right now trying to figure out what to do, but let's get all these sideways. I'm holding shift. That's April, May, June. And then I'll select all three, and we can align them. Those will be aligned to the right, and we should center them actually. I could have made them bigger from the start. That might have been a better thing, but now it's too late. I don't want to resize because it won't be all the same. Okay, so we have April, May, June, and then we'll take these three and copy and paste and move them around. I know they're not in the right spot, but first let's just turn them. And this one's going here, say. That's pretty good. And let's say that can go there. And that can go there. So that's pretty good, right? And I'm going to speed up the process right now. So let me just finish them off, and we'll see how it goes. And then I'll get back to the rest of the board. Okay, so now I pulled them all out, and I don't need this anymore, so I'll delete it. And now I have to decide where I'm putting it. I guess we can do July here. That would have to be upside down. And August here. I don't want any to be where these stripes are, because that's a different situation. Because those stripes are going to be pathways. And September. The problem I'm having is I want to do a row here to tell you whether you are or are not a Photoshop user. And so I'm not leaving myself too much room here. So I don't know if I should add one. I'm going to add an extra one here. No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to add it right there. And then November. Let's do November this way. And December over here. Okay. So let's first, oops, I'm gonna lock, let me lock that board because I keep moving it, and lock the Affinity logo. Let's go back. So now I'm gonna take these two and align them again, this time to the left, and move them up. Let's get close-ups. Plus key I'm hitting to get the close-up. There we go. Let's move them in the center. Perfect. Okay. and then 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm holding shift, and then I'm aligning those on the bottom. So they're all lined up. Oops. And if they're lined up, I can now move them to touch the line. And now the only thing I have to do is center them in each box. Pretty good, huh? So it's starting to shape up. So again, I'm going to try and get you to help me after I do this with suggestions on what else to do. So let's get another one. I'm going to copy and paste here. These are all for Photoshop. So we want to just, anyone who at the time is a Photoshop user, then we're going to, they have to pay whenever they land on one of these. In reality, they have to pay every single time, whether they land on it or not. But for the game's purpose, we'll just make it where they pay, and if you're an Affinity user, you don't pay. So, and we can make it fancy. We could put big dollar signs and things. So then I thought it would be interesting, like for example, if you're an Affinity user, you don't have to go all around this board, because sometimes Affinity users have to pay for things. Like maybe they needed something that Lightroom uses and they had to go to another program or another app, and maybe they had to pay for something there. So I thought maybe, you know, Affinity Photo people should have some payment. But what I want to do here is, if you're an Affinity Photo user, I'm going to copy this text over here. I thought Affinity Photo users get to take a shortcut. So any Affinity user shortcut. Right? So now I'm going to take a pen tool and go click, and holding shift, I'm clicking again. And my stroke is black, and 7-point looks pretty good. But now what I'll do is I'm going to add an arrow, which I thought would be cool. And maybe, you know what, maybe the stroke should be the purple color. There we go. So we make it that purple. And so now let's put this here. So if you land, I don't know, should we do it if you land on the box, or should we just do it no matter what? An Affinity user, if they, like for example, if you throw the dice and you're here and you get a 3 or a 4, you can go 1, 2, and then 3, 4, which I'm going to make these in a minute. So that's up to you. So again, I want your input just to see, and then what I'll do is I'll do another part 2 to continue this board game. So also, since this is the shape, which I did a very poor job there, but we'll get another one anyway, I'm going to take another polygon, 6-sided, and I thought I'll hold shift like that. And the reason that's weird is because it has the arrow still. So let's go none, and I think it should have a black outline there, and it's a little bit smaller like that. And then we'll give it the shape just like the logo. And I figured we'll put one here, and I'm going to copy and paste, and then we'll put one here, because that's the landing spots. Copy and paste. Well, actually paste. I'll just have to hit paste because I already copied on the first one. And let's move this a little bit. I'm using my arrow keys, just using my judgment, doesn't matter. And I'll paste again. And how about here? And I'll paste again, and right here. So what I'm kind of thinking, let me pull out a little. What I'm kind of thinking right now is, if you're here, first of all, if you're here and you're an Affinity user, you don't pay. But then you throw the dice and you get a 5. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can cut across this board. And the nice part about it is, like if you are here, this is going to give you, you get paid. like you get money, income from doing project. And if there's something here, you can get income from doing the project. So that's kind of cool. And you can, so if I have a, if I get a 3, if I'm over here and I get a 3, I get 1, 2. Well, I won't get an income because I'm not landing on it, but I could go across here to 3, and then maybe next time go this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here and get an income. So you have to, figure out. I'm not sure. This is crazy. I'm doing some stupid little silly thing, and I'm doing it because it gives me practice with the tools, and it takes your mind off of the really serious stuff. And when you do that, you tend to get more creative. So it's more fun. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at right now. So there's an Affinity user shortcut. I could copy and paste that and make this another one. Or instead of that one being a shortcut, let's make this one a shortcut and turn that upside down, of course. And let's see. And then maybe I'll just move the arrow here. And what I'll do on this one, I'll copy and paste and put it here and say completed project, maybe something like completed project get paid, let's say, I don't know, let's say $150. Okay, and maybe I'll do the get paid in caps. And then I'll also feel like I should do the get paid in caps and a little bit bigger, like that. How's that? All right, and then center that. So that helps you. So if you were able, now other people, Photoshop user can get that too if they land on it, but you have a better chance of landing on it because if you're here, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get it. And if you don't have a 5 and maybe you threw a 3, you can go, you're here, you can go 1, 2, 3, and then you get that, and then you continue on the board. So that's where I'm at with that. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. So let me get to the other last things, and then we'll get to where you come in. So let's copy and paste this. We forgot to do that. At least I did. And make sure that says Photoshop user pays. And then copy and paste, and then Photoshop user. Okay. So now on these boxes where the purple is, that's where I thought it would be interesting to say, let's copy and paste right here. And these will say, you know what, let me do it this way just so I can do it. So it's easier for me to type. This will say, you are a Photoshop my typing is terrible. Shop user. Okay, and so let's take that right here, and then I'll copy and paste and put it here, right? And then now I'll do almost the same thing. Copy, paste. Let me bring that back so I can do it. You are, and I'll change that to say you are an Affinity user. Yes. Whoops, sorry. Let's see. Affinity user. All right, and then we'll put that here. And copy, paste, and put that here. So what I'm trying to say is, as you go around this board now, if you land here, you're a Photoshop. You are now a Photoshop user. You continue as a Photoshop user. But if you land here, then you're no longer a Photoshop user. You're an Affinity user, and so on. And so when you get to this point, you will either be an Affinity user or a Photoshop user for the next round, and that will tell you how much you can get paid or how much you have to pay out each time, and that's the kind of thing. So, and obviously you get, if you're a Photoshop user, your chances of landing on paying is a lot for these $10 things, whereas Affinity user lands on there and they don't pay anything for that. So let's just do one more fun thing. I thought it would be cute because let's do a ellipse tool, and I'll hold shift, make it really small. I'm going to get a close-up. Okay, right here. And then I think I'll do another. Actually, let's turn that color into some kind of a yellow, like that. And then I'll do another, and I'll make it, oops, I'm sorry. Then I'm going to do another ellipse right here like that. And this one I'm going to make a black with no stroke. What am I doing? No stroke. There we go. And so I'll take that and put it right there. Copy and paste. Put it right there. And then let's go back to the shape tool and the crescent. Let me have a little crescent like that. And turn that. Right? And we put that there. So now we have, we'll select all three of these items. We'll group them and say happy. Right? That's good. And now, if you become an Affinity user, you're going to be happy. So let's create one for Photoshop user, J. I'm going to Control or Command J. So now I have this one. I'm going to call that one sad. And all I have to do with that one is take that crescent and flip it upside down. Okay? And maybe I'll give it a red color, because what's a sad color? I don't know. Not red. Red is just like a bad thing. So let's give it a bad color. That's all. And so now let's step out a little bit. So for the Affinity, all the Affinity users get the happy face, and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm holding Alt and dragging it. And then for the Photoshop user, is you don't want to be a Photoshop user. And let's see where we stand. Let's look at the whole board. It's coming along. I'd like suggestions on what to do on the corners. I think there should be more things about getting paid. So maybe I'm going to copy, and actually I'm going to put one right here, because an Affinity user can go 1, 2, 3, and then out here, which means only if they land on them they get paid, though. We got to be careful. You can't just get paid for passing by. So, but that gives an Affinity user a chance to go in. So here you have a shortcut to get in, and here you have a shortcut to get in. And I don't know what to do in here. I would guess there's a set of cards, and we can create cards. So I'm going to leave it up to you. So there's a link below. No. So I'm going to leave it up to you. So why don't you put it in the comments on my YouTube channel, and let me know where you want it to go from here, because I can make any kind of changes. We can have some fun with it. And I think it's just, I know it's a crazy thing to do. It's not something we're going to use, although it's very printable, because I did it at 300 DPI, but it gives you an idea of that you can create any kind of game and come up with anything you want. So I hope you like this tutorial, and if you do, please click like and subscribe, and remember to leave those comments, because I'm doing a second one, a part 2 of this, after I receive all your comments, and I'll talk about who gave me some information that I want to use. I'll put your ideas to play right in the next video. So have a good day.